Hey, Secretary Cardona, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I can't thank you enough for being here. This means so much.
Of course. Glad to be with you. Glad to be with you.
Uh, you know, so we'll get right into it.
Let's do it.
My name is
What do
Eric.
we have behind you, first of
Oh,
all?
yeah. We have some interns from the Brantford High School. They're on Brantford Community Television. We have Jason,
Awesome.
Luke, and Destiny.
Good to see you all.
And they're very interested. They did some research on you. They're really excited to be here. They're with their
Good.
teacher, Tina, and Leon Collins, who's a former reporter. So
I
they
know
did some
Leon.
research.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got some guests and audience, and we're very happy to be here. This is podcast 108 of the Feeney Talks with Friends podcast. My name is Eric Feeney, founder and president of Friends of Feeney. Our mission is to help children and families that need assistance after heartbreak or tragedy. I use this podcast and I talk to wonderful people that are doing great things in the community. And you, my friend, do wonderful, wonderful things. I cannot thank you. You're my boss's 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 boss. So as a
Yeah,
teacher,
great to be with you, Eric. Really happy. Congratulations on your show and the success of it. Really happy to be here. And, it's folks like you that I think, really provide the heartbeat of what's happening and, through your interviews and through your podcast. So congratulations to you. Happy to be on.
thank you. Yeah, just like you, I'm a teacher. I've been a teacher for 20 years. I taught at the same school that I went to as a kid, Kingsbury
Nice.
School in Waterbury. Mrs. Jarrell was my favorite teacher. She changed my life. So every day I try to be someone Mrs. Jarrell. So with that being said, do you have a favorite teacher or someone that inspired you?
Yeah, it's interesting because I have significantly influential teachers that have been a blessing to me. I remember in second grade, I had an art teacher, Mr. O'Neill, and I wanted to be like Mr. O'Neill. The topics were cool. I loved art, and he made it come alive to me. And that was when I was in second grade. And then Mrs. Ransom, an art teacher in high school, who encouraged me to consider teaching as a profession. And if it weren't for her, I probably wouldn't become a teacher, and I wouldn't be here where I am today. And then there was someone named Gladys Lapis, who was an assistant principal of mine when I was in middle school. She then became a professor at the university when I was going for my master's degree. She was a professor of mine. And she'd always been like kind of a mentor to me, one of the first Latinas that I've ever seen in administration. So I kind of aspired to be like her. And I share those three people because I was fortunate enough to bring Mr. O'Neill to the White House like maybe 2 months ago. And he's spanned over 40 years in education. So for me, it was such a highlight to be able to bring that teacher that I had in second grade. I also brought Ms. Ransom, the art teacher from high school, to the Department of Education. I had her sit in my chair. We went to the White House. And then just 2 days ago, I brought Gladys Labis, that mentor of mine, to an engagement at the House of the Vice President. And for me, the source of pride that I had having these mentors, these people that I look up to, who've helped so many students, being able to, give them access so they could see what their decisions and how they believed in me allowed me to get to where I am. And they're a big part of that. So,
Yeah.
thank you for acknowledging teachers publicly, because I think we have to say their names publicly and the impact that they've had in our lives. So, yeah.
That's
So when you
awesome.
ask, are they my favorite teachers? I always say influential. I don't ever want a teacher to feel bad, but these are people that have had a significant impact in my life for sure.
Yeah, before you got on, we went around the room, and Leon just had dinner with his teachers. One
Yeah,
of his teachers was 90
that's
years
awesome.
old, so it's amazing how you keep intact in communication with your teachers. Teachers make a difference, and that's what I'm trying to do. So again, and we also have sponsors. We're here with Direct Line Media. We have over 100 episodes. Thank you, my friends Dave and Stefania. We also have podcast sponsors of Brook Golf, Keating Agency, People's Bank, Luna Pizza, Parkville Market, and West Hartford Lock. So with that said, what are three keys that make you great at being a Secretary of Education? Three keys.
Well, look, I was a fourth grade teacher when I started, and that hasn't the passion. What drove me then hasn't changed, right? So, wanting to help kids, the North Star is the North Star, no matter where I am, whether I'm in a fourth grade classroom or standing next to the President of the United States advising on policy for the 65 million students we serve. It's a passion for helping children reach their goals. That's number one. That your North Star, your why, that can't. You have to be clear about that. Number two, this is a people business. It's a relationship business. You're not going to get far if you can't engage with people that think differently than you or have different ideas. So for me, a clear North Star, your interpersonal skills, and then I would say the ability to adapt and learn as you go. Look, when I was in Connecticut, I was the commissioner of education in Connecticut that dealt with dealt with kindergarten through pre-kindergarten through grade 12, right? As secretary of education, I also have higher education. That's new to me. But yeah, some of the greatest work that we're doing at the Department of Education with regard to student loans and college accountability is in higher education. So the ability to be adaptable, to learn and continuously grow is something that I would say those are the three keys.
Yeah, those are wonderful keys. And you chose to go in from a family with the police force background, but
Yeah.
you chose education. Do you know why that happened, or how did that happen?
Well, I always said I was going to be a police officer too. Growing up, my father served for 32 years in Meriden Police Department. I saw that brought us into the middle class. That gave us, not only financially allowed him to buy a home, but it also gave us such pride to serve the community in that way. And that service to community was really, set up for the three. I have two siblings. My brother ended up becoming a police officer, following my father's footsteps. He's my older brother. So again, service to the community, right? And then I knew I wanted to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to go for, but then I ended up going for teaching. But the plan was always to, at some point, become certified to become a police officer. But once I got, I got bit by the bug, the education bug, and never looked back. But yeah, that service to community mattered. So
Yeah.
my mother and father always served the community. My father was a police officer. My brother became a police officer. My sister became a social worker in the same community of Meriden, and I became a teacher in Meriden. So, public service runs through our veins.
So yeah, our motto is be a good friend. Pick up trash, hold the door, give a compliment, be charitable. I know your brother's your brother, Hector, but what makes him a good friend?
Who, my brother?
Yeah,
I just looking out for you, right?
yeah,
Being a good example, caring about the community. You teach people by what you do. So being a family man and being someone that cares about his community and what he does. He happens to work with external engagement, right? So he's on different community groups and meets with parents groups and neighborhood groups. So his engagement with the community is really high. And I take just as much pride now in watching him organize events for the city kids and having engagement with the community, because like teaching, his profession is very much a people business as well.
yeah. And I was honored. We helped a family in Meriden, and the police force gave me a shirt. So this is a canine shirt. We got the
Nice.
Meriden patch. So thank you for everything the Meriden Police Force does and do. And I really appreciate this. I hold this as like a badge of appreciation. So it means so much. And I also see that you're wearing a lapel. So I have a Be a Good Friend lapel. I wouldn't mind sending it to
Nice.
you. Maybe someday you'll wear it. I don't know. Think about that. I'll mail it to you.
Thank you.
So a couple more things. So I know you play the bongos. Do you have any other hobbies? And I know you probably don't have much time for hobbies, but when you do have some time,
You know what?
in
With the
addition
time
to
that I have, I try to spend it with my wife and kids. I always say I'm Secretary of Education, but the title that I take most pride in is Papi,
Yeah.
dad, and husband. And I think it's really important, no matter where you are in your career, that and I talk about the North Star in education for me, is serving children. My North Star as a person is ensuring my faith, my family, health, and I think that's a message that kind of permeates into my hobbies, right? So when I have free time with family, music is a big part of my life. Yes, my family growing up, we had a family band. My wife sings, my children sing. So there are times where we perform together, and so music is a big part of that. I love sports, and every once in a while, I love just doing things that keep me grounded, cutting the grass, making sure that and doing things around the house that keep it up.
Wow. It's been an honor and a privilege. I know you were the youngest principal in Connecticut, and here you are as the Secretary of Education. Where did you find your drive, and how did you move the ladder so fast? How did you do it?
Sure. Well, look, I look at this as a commitment to always serve and be better than myself yesterday. I look at the sacrifices that I've made to pale in comparison to the sacrifices my grandparents made when they left the paradise of Puerto Rico for the projects of Connecticut, right? They sacrificed so the next generation could have a little bit more. And, my parents, they worked hard and they sacrificed too. I moved 7 times before I was 13 years old. Then my father, as I said, became a police officer. We got into the middle class. So when I think about sacrifice, the work that I've done, I'm pretty privileged compared to their lived experience. So, I looked at it as an opportunity to continue to grow and represent my family and the hard work, the sacrifices that they made. So I've been blessed with opportunity. I have to say that. But, my goal was to get my doctorate before 30. I ended up having 2 amazing children. And so I pushed it back for 5 years. And, I was able to graduate fairly young with my doctorate. I was fortunate to be serving as a principal since 28 years old. So, by 35, 36, 37, I was already in the role for many years. And I was thinking, okay, what do I do next? So I continued. And I wanted to continue to have a wider scope of impact. So I went from district leadership, which was fantastic. And then I was really interested in achievement gaps in Connecticut, because Connecticut, while we're a wealthy state, we also have some of the poorest communities. So that to me was an issue that I wanted to address, partly because I was one of those students who was, if you look at the data wouldn't suggest that I would be the Commissioner of Education. So, I was very focused on achievement disparities and really thinking about it holistically as a state. And I did some work at the state level in Hartford, working on legislative policies. And that caught the attention of Hartford. And then when the opportunity arose for me to apply for Commissioner of Education, I interviewed with Governor Lamont. And, if you look back, there were certain, there were a lot of people that were interested in that role. And I wasn't really somebody that was, the front of the line, but I interviewed really well. The passion came out and Governor Lamont gave me a chance. Then the pandemic happened. And it was that ability to, remember that interpersonal stuff that I talk about?
Yeah.
It was the ability to work with different folks, whether it was parents, community leaders, health departments, unions, teachers, to really come together to reopen our schools safely and quickly. That caught the attention of then President-elect Biden. And they took this kid who no national profile and gave him a chance to serve as secretary. So again, blessed to be in the right places, to be around good people, but just really staying focused on children at a time where, whether it was a pandemic or politics, it's easy to get distracted in this profession. For me, the focus has been, as I said, when I was in 4th grade classroom, the focus was helping those kids. As a Commissioner of Education, it's helping the kids. And I think that's shown through.
Yeah, well, as a teacher for 2 different districts, I taught at 9 years in Waterbury, where I went to school. I'm in my 11th year in West Hartford. It's been a true honor. Again, you look after 65 million people, education, right? Is that about right? 65 million. So thank you so much for taking the time. It was truly an honor. You are a good friend. That's our motto, be a good friend. So I want to thank you for being such a good friend, and your passion shows in this interview. Any final remarks or closing remarks?
I always say to folks that are watching, right, because it's a very high profile position, my message is, you never change you can't change who you are from the barrio to the briefing room, right? Don't change your stripes and you'll be successful. You don't feel like you have to fit into a certain mold. I'm leaving this interview and I'm going to a meeting with the White House, and it's the same person they're going to get. So to those who are listening, to the students in the classrooms, to the interns there, to the educators, it's when you're unapologetically and authentically you, and you're following and you're chasing the right things, it's not hard work. You're just doing it in a different location. So I guess that's my parting message to the students and to those who are listening. Be unapologetically and authentically you. Strive to help people, to make your community better, and you'll be happy. And I think that's an example of that I choose to live, and I know you do too, Eric. So congratulations to you on your podcast, and thank you for having me.
I'm a lifelong learner, and I learned something today. Thanks to you. You're truly an inspiration, and I thank you so much for being here. On 3, can we say be a good friend to close off?
Absolutely.
1, 2, 3. Be a good friend. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
You as well. Take care.
Take care.